And we are live. It's
Great.
You've Got Mel. And Mel has the one and only Boaz Coster. Hi,
Hello,
Boaz.
hello, Mel.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And I can't understand how I've walked the planet for so many years and never met you because you are a gold mine. You have stories. You're a writer. You're a journalist. You invent games and toys. Um, what have you been doing my whole life? We'll talk about that, but first we have the jingle. Are you ready for the jingle?
Of course I am.
You don't have that much choice.
Well, we'll survive it.
Okay, here we go.
Get a chair, grab a seat, or we'll sweep you off your feet. We move, we groove, you got Mel. Ease your legs, rest a while, all you gotta do is smile. We're swell, can't you tell, you got Mel. When the show begins, you better hold on real tight, or before you know it, you'll be high as a kite. Take a break, settle down, we're the only show in town. SRO, don't you know, you got Mel. Give it up, don't think twice, we're a hurricane on ice. What the hell, give a yell, ring your bell, show and tell. Mademoiselle, give a smell, you got Mel.
You've got Mel. And
Get a
Mel.
chair,
Oh, once is enough.
One Mel is enough.
It's even too much.
Yeah.
Even I have trouble with me. So
With
Boaz,
it.
it's great to have you. It's great to have you on the program. I'm going to shut up now because you've got Mel. This show is about you. So start at the beginning. Start before the beginning. Go ahead.
Okay, I will start before the beginning, but just because you've asked. And the story of, basically it's the story of my parents, because they started the business which I'm now in with my brother Gideon and my wife. And it started as they were preparing. I was born in Purim about 61 years ago. And the day before, they were very creative people, my parents, and they were looking for doing all sorts of things, designing, graphic artists, they did for exhibitions, they did cover books, one of them of Ben Gurion. They did lots of stuff, and they were looking for all sorts of creative ways to survive, to earn a living. My father was an Ole Chadash, a new immigrant from Holland. My mother was a kibbutznik, and they didn't have a lot, so they tried to earn whatever they could. And they were very creative, and they went to, the night before, they wanted, it was in the end of March. In that time, the fiscal year was ending in March and starting in April. And they thought that if the new baby will be born still in March, they'll be able to get something, compensate from whatever. So they went, it's a true story. And they went to a Purim party, and they were dressed very funnily. I have the picture. They had a dog called Fiki, and they dressed him with a neck, something funny. And my mother, to show she was pregnant with a belly, a full belly of a baby, and she took 2 balloons and she put them on her 2 arms. So she looked like a weightlifter, and they went to the party. And then one of their friends thought it was very funny, and he took a needle and blew one of the balloons in her hand. So my father stopped him and said, hey, that one, the one in the belly is a real one. Don't, and that was it. And they succeeded, and I was born on the date they wanted me to, and they got it. And this was how I was born. But the funny thing is that the story of how they started doing all sorts of graphic things for My mother was an art teacher. My father was a printer from a printing family in Holland. And when my brother, who's 6 years younger than me, my mother had to keep in bed because she was in a high-risk pregnancy. So she was in bed, and my father made a special table for her so she could, first of all, draw, and secondly, and most importantly, they could play bridge. They would invite friends, and they play, really, they would play. They were, I'm talking about births, but my father in 1928 was born during a bridge game with the doctor and his wife and my grandparents. And they went to the other room. They gave birth to my father, but they didn't go on playing afterwards. So coming back to my brother, who was in my mother's belly, waiting to be born and kept so he will be okay. And I, as a 5.5-year-old, came to my mother and asked her, Ima, mother, where's Jerusalem? So she said, it's very difficult with no Google, no Waze, no Google Maps, nothing to explain to a young boy, where's Jerusalem? So she was an artist. She took a card paper, drew a map of Israel with little places, little drawings of all the significant places in Israel. And afterwards gave me a pawn and a die and made like a board, playing board that I could travel around Israel and getting to know Israel. Since then, I really know the country very well, and I traveled a lot, and in many ways afterwards in areas, I know the maps very good. And they had a little game. And a few days afterwards, a friend of my parents who was at that time heading one of the petrol delek in Israel came and said, wow, this might be an idea to give it as a present, because it was just cardboard and a few pawns and dice, give it as a present to drivers who fill their tank with, 5 times in our station. They'll get this and they'll come to us. And they thought and tried. It didn't work out. It didn't came out at that time. But my parents came to the idea that they can start up a business of giving premiums, of making giveaways to banks, to corporations, to lots of things.
But Boaz, how can you make money giving giveaways?
They could make money because the banks and the petrol station would pay for those gifts. It wouldn't be a lot, but you'll see in a second. I'll tell you how you can.
No, I think I know, because of the popsicles, right?
Yes, exactly. You know, the popsicles is something they did lots of things for banks. They have
that was their the popsicle was their idea.
The popsicle, it was called LC sticks. It was done by Borden Company in the States, and this stick, which is, I'll just explain, it's a plastic stick that came to replace the wooden stick, the normal one, and it had a combination of 7 ways that you can interconnect sticks to each other, and this would encourage the kids to eat lots of ice cream, lots of lollipops, keep the stick, and afterwards build. And there were lots of promotions and things that kids built, whatever they did, and sent the pictures, and it was all over the world.
You guys sold billions of them.
Yes, we did. I'll tell you, it was in the United States, in Japan, in South Africa, in Iceland, in Sweden, in Japan, in Israel, and in Borden Company, they did it for 12 years, and they did something like 12 billion sticks. Now, you don't get a lot of money out of this, but they got a few cents for every 1,000. So each month they got $1,500. And in the 70s, it was okay. It was like the Israeli lira at the time, but it was sufficient enough to keep them and keep me and my brother well fed. And it kept them with a constant income, so they could develop even further things that are not just for premium or giveaways, but more bigger games with more inside them and more that you could sell for more.
Boaz, I remember these sticks.
Yes.
I grew up in Canada. We had Borden's ice cream.
Oh.
So I'm not sure whether I know them from Israel or from Canada, but of course I know the sticks. And now I know the people who invented them.
Yeah, yeah. And still till today, you can find funny things. People remember them. And like 5 or 10 years ago, I found someone, an artist, that made a drawing with the stick in it. So it was very funny. And a few years ago, someone in Finland and made an exhibition and asked us to produce another line of sticks so they could let kids play with it. So it's an ongoing, every invention, some of them stay for long.
Did you also produce them, or you had other people producing them?
We didn't. My parents at the time, well, part of their, I think, of their success, of our success, is usually when we invent something, we try to design it and make it so it's very easy industrial. We try to solve all the industrial problems. And I remember that at that time, my father went and they had to make a special machine for packing the sticks, for taking them out and inserting them into the ice cream, because everything, not just from security and the materials it was made with, but there's a lot of stages, and it's very, very hard to make a product, any product, to make it safe, to make it, never mind if it's great fun and everybody wants to have it and play with it. There are lots of stages you have to pass until you can make something really happen.
It's an incredible story of
and
making money from a popsicle.
Yeah, and I can tell you even a greater story. My parents, how they started their first success, those sticks, it didn't came out just like this. They used to be, they were working and doing those giveaways in Israel, and they didn't think too much about the world. And one day, a Dutch friend of theirs, Yaakov Bar David, who was a book agent, told them, I'm going to New York to a book fair, and I heard there's also a toy fair at that time in New York. And I know that you made a few things, so if you want me, I can be your agent. Give me a few ideas, and I'll try and see what I can do. So this guy is Bar David. His wife, by the way, was Molly Bar David, who was the food writer, one of the first food writers, wrote a very famous book in the 60s or something. And he went to New York to this toy fair, which was then held in 205th Avenue, which is just across the street from the Flatiron building.
Oh,
one. And today is Italy. If you know, it's a very famous food hall, Italian one. And at that time, it was very hustling and bustling place with 6 elevators going up and down, with all salespeople and reps and inventors and designers and toy companies. And he went to one of the elevators and it got stuck. Electric failure or something, the elevator got stuck. Inside, you know, people are very happy and pumped up and talking to each other and say, what are you doing? I'm a book agent, I have very few ideas. What are you doing? I'm from an ice cream company. Selim, oh yes? We should get a meeting after this, after we get out. And so they did. And he showed him this stick. And the rest was a multi-million history of sticks and kids playing all over. And this is the start. And the other 2 games that he took with him, he also succeeded in selling them. And since then, my parents said, okay, we're going to do more games. They were also very original. One of them was one of the first balancing games with clowns that you try to build a tree of clowns by keeping it balanced. And the other one was a very nice game design machine, a bit like Spirograph or something like that. So afterward, they went on and did lots of other games, but this was a very, sometimes you say, well, I'm stuck in an elevator, better to have a talk.
So it's not, in Yiddish you would say bashert, it was meant to be.
Yes.
So by the way, I happen to have a design in my pocket for an ice cream stick. That's amazing. And since then, your family have developed 190 different inventions, products, games, toys, giveaways.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yes, 190 we developed many more. 190 were licensed, were bought by toy and other companies.
How many of them did you invent?
A few of them. It's very tough to say I invented, but there are few that I was heavily in the development, in the design.
Is this a family thing? You sit around
yes.
the breakfast?
Not just the family. It was my parents, my late father who passed away a year and a half ago, and my mother, and my brother and my wife. But we are working all the time with Israel is a very creative place. We are working here with many top Israeli designers, architects, artists, electricians, people who makes dolls and plush toys, people from all sorts of people who do not have any connection but come up with an idea, and we try to channel them to see if there is anything we could do to make it something viable, a toy or a game or a puzzle. There are lots of puzzles, and we work with many people, and hopefully some of them are doing good. So we constantly succeed, much to our happiness and luck maybe, to license those games and toys.
So Boaz, like I want to understand the process. Like you sit around the breakfast table with some cabbage and some pancakes, and you discuss what you're going to invest time and effort developing.
Yeah, more or less. Not pancakes and cabbage, but coffee and cottage cheese on toast. But that's
and it's all family. You don't argue. You don't fight.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. First of all, we argue. Sometimes we have different ideas of how to do something. We can try. We can make. At the time, it was much simpler because my mother would come up with an idea. She was the idea lady, and my father would be the one who would build the model, would execute it. He has a workshop used to work and build the models from plastic, from wood, from cardboard. But nowadays, things changed, and there are lots of things done in the computer and by 3D printing and development. So things are doing, and we can, and this COVID-19 doesn't help in that respect, but you get used to do it by Zoom and meet people and even sell ideas by Zoom. We do it constantly. So, and we work with lots of inventors by, it's like a ping pong game that you pass an idea and you do a reject and say, no, maybe it might be better like this. The minus side of this thing is that when you have to try it, and one of the most important things is to try toys and games and constructions with the kids usually that are supposed to play with it. So we are, that is more difficult, but we overcome that as well. You can videotape kids playing and do some focus groups and see. So we overcome that as well.
So, so first of all, I want to thank the toy inventor Yoav Ziv, who introduced us. Now I'm angry with him that he didn't introduce us 5 years ago, but better late than never. So thank you, Yoav.
We're still young.
Yeah, and well, you speak for yourself. So,
Okay.
as I'm an inventor, and what bothers me about the toys is that it's hard to protect these ideas. And you told me that you can just give a call to Hasbro or Mattel and say, hey, Peter, I have this great idea. And you're not afraid to share ideas with them?
No, I'll explain. First of all, I'm usually, as an inventor in our field of toys, you most probably are going to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, with the company you're presenting to.
Okay.
And in that, it's not coming to protect you. It's coming to protect the company, saying usually we are maybe we are developing the same idea you're showing us by now. Maybe we did it, maybe we saw it before, and you have nothing to do against us in that case. But on the other hand, when inventors come to them, especially with those like us, with experience and lots of successes, yes, they know exactly about the sticks, they know about Guess Who, they know about Zingo, they know about Elephant, they know about lots of games that some of them are 20, 30, 40, and 50 years old and in the market constantly. And they want to see the new ideas from us. Especially they want to see them first. So there is the companies tend not to steal ideas, and
Really?
Yes, those companies, the major companies, we have good experience, but as we speak, there are some people who are not very honest, but most of them in that area, those who work in company are honest, but from time to time there's someone not honest, and while we speak, someone could steal our car if we have one. Yes, yeah. It could be someone. But on the other hand, in those companies, they need us, first of all, and they want us to come back. And we, as we work, we know all the inventors globally, yes? We have organizations, we have meetings, toy fairs that we meet all of them. So if someone treats me unfair, unright, or even steals ideas, I can tell my friends, if you ask me, I would not go to this company because they're a bit fishy. And then they would lose their market. They need us every year because, as we say, in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks, there'll be some Christmas trees. And under those Christmas trees, the kids would wait to have some new toys and games. And and I can tell you, if the COVID wouldn't do something very terrible, in 2021, there'll be also Christmas trees, and they'll need some more toys. So they'll need us. They need some ideas. And so this is how it works usually.
Wow. I grew up in Canada, so Guess Who was a rock band. What is your guess?
Yeah. These Eyes, An American Woman. Yes, those are the two hits. I know, because I know they got the group. Yeah.
What is the game?
The game, Guess Who, is, you see it in my back, is a game of identifying, or it was the mystery face. It was 24 faces. Each one has 24 faces on a clicking board that you have to, basically it's a game of elimination. Each one has a card with a different face, and I have to guess your faces and you have to guess mine. And we do it by eliminating, asking general question that will help us to make the elimination. And I ask, for instance, does he have brown hair? And you say no. And then I flip down all the tiles with the brown hair. And you ask, does he have glasses? You flip down, etc., until you eliminate and then you guess which is my card. And you can play it for many times, and it's in one piece, and it doesn't get lost, but it has a very, very nice clicking sound.
So this is one of your, I guess every company or development has their own like speciality, and your speciality is making things out of one piece. I saw that in a few other products of yours.
You're right. And I can tell you why. My mother used to say that she doesn't like to run around home and collect things too much from the kids. And she thought that families and mothers and parents and grandparents wouldn't like to collect. So if you can do it in one go, things will not get lost at all, and you don't have to collect them afterwards. So if you can do it, it's not all our games, but in some of the most successful ones, it is really one unit. And it helps because it's all concise, and some of them, again, like there's one called the Magic Mixer, which is a dice flower that you can make lots of words and numbers games, and it can get into your pocket. So it could be a travel in. It was a travel game. So you put in your pocket, you can play it anywhere, and lots of people take it with them for their trip to South America, or to their summer camps, or to the scouts camps.
Incredible. So Boaz, who are the so when you were kids, you were beta testers for your parents.
Exactly.
And then you became actual developers.
Yes. And you ask, who is our guinea pigs?
Yeah.
Everyone. Wherever we live, it depends on the kids, you know. The neighbors usually like very much to come and test things, and the parents like it because we take the kids for a few hours and take and look after them, and they play games, and they are happy, and they are happy as well. So this is very easy, but usually we do focus groups with kids or families, and sometimes we videotape it, and sometimes if it's babies, we have some now few great ideas for babies with some toy companies, and they do also amazing stuff. And then you try it, and then you have to get some more, let's say, educational aspects and professional aspects of it, and see that it really fits. But usually kids like it to try in games. I remember that when I was a kid, my parents used to do lots of brain teasers puzzles, and our neighbor next door was a very bright boy and used to solve it very quickly. And then they came to the toy fair with very difficult puzzles, and the American buyer looked at it and said, "Oh, this is too difficult for our kids. It wouldn't work." So they had to reshape it, and there's a lot of going back to the drawing board in order to make it appropriate for the public you're looking for.
So,
it's not always one shot and you got it. It's a continuous work. For instance, guess who? It took them 3 years with just cards, with boards, with tiles that you move them, markers. It didn't work. Only when my mother told my father to make a special, we have the initial model of Guess Who. It's 41 years old in our showroom with the hand-drawn pictures of my mother and the plastic that looks exactly like the original game with the flipping thing. Just when they made this clicking thing, it helped, because there is not only the element of game, of eliminating, but also the sound of the click, 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 which helps, it's something, it enhances the fun, and you get another sense that is involved in the game. So it makes it much, much interesting.
So, are you a child at heart?
Yes.
How old?
I'm not sure. I'm not, there isn't any weight scales that you can put and see exact what your age on, but I'm saying that I'm allowed to be an infantile all the time and play around and do funny stuff all the time.
It's an incredible job. I think it's better than having a chocolate factory.
Yes. I think it's here, at least we are in a factory. You have to keep producing lines of the same thing. Here we are really entitled to do all the time. We're working on all the time on between 50 and 100 different present and past projects. And some of them are in a process of renewal. And some of them, we just now, as we speak, before Christmas, a game that my parents did in 1977 came out in Japan. It's called Jewel Hunt by Kawada. It's a Japanese company. And it's a game that they did in 77 and now came out almost the same design. They didn't change the game at all. Only it looks, the materials are nice. It looks like shiny and bright. And it's very nice to see something that was done so many years coming back, and we have it all the time, that we take something from the past, and if it's a good game, and usually what we do, we try to keep it very simple. So it's very easy for us to explain, for the company to understand and explain to their buyers and the kids to understand. And especially nowadays, when you buy in the net or electronically, and even when you go to a big toy store, you see just, line of games and maybe the cover, and you have to understand it. I call it the silence of the shelves. And you have to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, it will stay on the shelf. So it's very important to do something very easy, something that will create a wow or a fun factor and very easy to understand.
In my career, we used to call it shelf candy.
Mm-hmm.
Shelf candy. Well, this is remarkable, and I am going to come visit your candy workshop, and I can't wait. But before we talk about the Beatles, um, we haven't talked about your dad and the Second World War.
Yeah,
Your dad, may he rest in peace. He had a wonderful life.
yes,
What
he did.
happened to What happened to him before he
In the
came
war.
to?
Well, he was in Amsterdam, and he was in the same class as Anna Frank. They went to school together. They lived very close by to each other, and they used to go to school. And during the war, they started doing the selection, and they started to take some children and tell them, you have to go there and there. And they did it alphabetically. And they did it to A and B, and my father was named Coster, so it was C. And luckily enough, his father had the initiative and the brains to make arrangements beforehand and to find out places he could hide his family. And he made my father's sister went to a monastery in Belgium, and the father went to hide somewhere else, and the mother went somewhere else. And my father was sent to somewhere in the country near Fassen, not far away from Amsterdam, with a couple that used to, the man was the headmaster of a school, and the school was not operating because of the war. So there was a place for the headquarters of some Dutch SS in that school, and my father was as if he was their child. At that time, his name was, before he started the war, Maurice Simon Coster. Now, Maurice Simon sounds very Jewish name. So he decided, he was 12 at the time, to change his name, and he read a book, so he decided the name Theo, which is not so Jewish, so he was called Theo during that, and he decided, and he stayed, and till all his life he signed Theo Maurice Simon Coster. And all his friends called him Theo, and the name of our company is Theora, which is Theo and Ora together. Ora is our mother. And they kept him. And those couple, I must say, they were alive, and they got the Chasidei Umot HaOlam medal as they helped keeping alive.
Yad Vashem gave them a special
yes, exactly.
special recognition. They endangered their lives.
Yes, and they were, I was very lucky that when I was in my teens, I went few times to Holland to visit my real grandmother, and I stayed also for a couple of days with my other grandparents. They were kept, and we were in good contact. And I was even in old people's home when I got my first son. I went with my wife, and we went there, and we also met the old Susie, and we went to visit them, and we.
So you actually met the family that saved your daddy.
Yes, we were in good contact. They were without children, so he was treated like their son afterwards.
What was their motive of risking their lives to save him?
We never asked, and I'm not sure, but I think I'm not, and now that you're asking, I'm not quite sure if my father wrote about it, because he made afterwards a documentary with another 4 survivors that were in the same class with Anna Frank. So he made a book called Classmates of Anna Frank, and I think it was in the States called We All Wore Stars. And it was also after he made a documentary with all of them. And I'm not sure if that aspect is there, but maybe it's in his book. It was also in English, Japanese, in 11 languages, including Hebrew, the book. And he kept them. And the movie, the documentary was done because every year in Holocaust Day in Israel, people used to ask him to come to my school, to my brother's school, to other school to speak about it. And suddenly my mother, who's the idea lady, said, come on, maybe we'll make a documentary, we'll make a movie, and you can send the movie instead of you going all those places. And luckily we did, because now we have a big memory of that. And it was very interesting. It was in lots of Jewish festival. It was in.
Can we watch it on YouTube?
No, it's not on you. It's not free on YouTube. But I can. If you come to visit, I'll show you. I'll give you a disc.
I want everybody to see it.
Well, maybe one day they'll be able. I think it was on channel in Cannes, in channel 11.
The people in Holland who saved the Jews are real heroes. I have very unpopular views about anti-Semitism in Holland. We're not going to talk about that now on the air, but we'll talk about it when we meet. So this is remarkable that your dad was able to transform himself from
Yes.
from a constant danger of death and his whole family survived the war, the immediate family.
Yeah, four of them survived. And
incredible.
His mother used to come and visit, and he would treat her as an aunt. She come to visit every few months, and he survived. And afterwards, in the documentary, he asked her, the people, but how didn't you didn't know, what did you think? It said, all the village knew you were a Jew, but they didn't say.
Wow.
Because he thought you had a nose. She said, you had the nose of a Jew, so we thought you were a Jew. And it was very funny. We did the route. We went to once all the family, my brother and all the grandchildren, and we all went with my father with a little bus around Netherlands and saw all the places and all the things that happened in all the places, and we got to know it better.
It's incredible.
And he had very good connection with Anna Frank Institute and Anna Frank House, and I guess you can find the book there as well.
Boaz, this has been remarkable. I can't wait actually to meet you and touch your elbow with my elbow.
I sharpened my elbow very well.
Okay, no, don't sharp it. I don't like the sharp elbows. I love the.
Well, we are in Israel. We must have
the cuddly plush elbows like your little animals.
Okay. We'll make it toyetic.
Yeah, sharpen the pencils, not the elbows.
All right.
And finally, I can ask you about the Beatles because you're the right age. Do you like the Beatles?
Yeah, of course I like the Beatles. I like lots of groups, but the Beatles I like very much. And I didn't get to see the Beatles because I wasn't this, but I remember hearing in the old Philips radio of my parents in 1972, I think it was their last song, I think Back to the USSR or something like that, and someone playing the song and saying that they were
splitting up.
And I was lucky enough to see Paul McCartney alive playing. So this is one of the best performances I've seen. So I'm very in favor.
Okay, so what do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite song?
Of the Beatles? Ah, wow. When I'm 64, maybe, because it will be a few years ago. But no, I
You're
don't
going
have.
to you're going to be
I
61. You're
no,
a
no,
young
no.
man.
Yeah. I'm going to be. Yeah, I think I'm going to be 61. Yes. No, I don't have a favorite Beatles song, but I like them in general. They did so many good songs.
No, but you're
It's
very lucky because if you mentioned the song, would you like to sing a song? All my
no,
guests sing a Beatles
that's very nice of your guests. I'm not. I don't think I'm going to do it.
song. Okay. Listen, it's been an incredible interview, and I can't wait to meet you and see all your toys and your games, but mainly to have a chance to meet you in person.
Thank you very
And it's
much.
been
Very nice for me as well to talk to you and to see you. And we'll meet very soon. And you'll see that some of the things, maybe many, many more.
wonderful. Boaz
Great.
Coster, thank you so much for being on You've Got Mel.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you. All the best. Take
Bye.
care.
תודה.
Bye bye.
תודה.